Red Bull gives you wings. But how did a drink that started out in Southeast Asia become a global empire that now includes sports teams, extreme events, and a media powerhouse? Today, we're taking a deep dive into the fascinating story behind Red Bull, a brand that redefined marketing, energy, and modern youth culture. The story begins in the mid-1980s, not in Austria, but in Thailand. At the time, a Thai businessman named Chaleo Uvidya had created a drink called Krating Deng. It was popular among workers and truck drivers for one simple reason. It helped them stay awake and energized during long hours. It wasn't a fancy drink, and it didn't come in sleek cans. But it worked. Enter Dietrich Mateschitz, an Austrian businessman working for a toothpaste company. During a business trip to Thailand in 1982, Mateschitz noticed something unusual. He was jet-lagged and exhausted, until he tried Krating Deng. Instantly, he felt energized. But what stood out even more was how popular this little drink was in Thailand. Mateschitz saw potential. He didn't just see a functional drink, he saw a product that could become a brand, a lifestyle, a global trend. So, he approached Chaleo with a bold idea. What if they partnered up and brought Krating Deng to the West? The two men agreed, and in 1984, they co-founded Red Bull GmbH. Mateschitz held a 49% stake, Chaleo held another 49%, and the remaining 2% went to Chaleo's son. But they didn't just take the Thai formula and copy it. Mateschitz worked on adapting the drink's taste and branding to fit the Western market. He changed the name to Red Bull, gave it a more carbonated, slightly less sweet flavor, and packaged it in a sleek silver and blue slim can. The first Red Bull can was sold in Austria in 1987. And here's where things get really interesting. Instead of following traditional advertising routes, Red Bull invented its own way to market. They didn't spend millions on TV ads right away. Instead, they used something called buzz marketing. Mateschitz and his team would hand out free cans at colleges, parties, and nightclubs. They sponsored extreme sports events, gave cans to young, energetic people, and created the image that Red Bull wasn't just a drink. It was a symbol of action, excitement, and youth. Soon, people started seeing Red Bull everywhere, in skate parks, on snowboard slopes, at DJ booths, and in people's hands during all-nighters. Red Bull didn't just associate itself with energy. It became the source of energy in youth culture. And it worked. By the mid-1990s, Red Bull had expanded across Europe. By 1997, it entered the US market, one of the toughest markets for any new drink. But Red Bull stuck to its roots: bold branding, extreme sports, and youth-focused campaigns. The slogan, "Red Bull gives you wings," became instantly recognizable. And the can design? Minimalist, simple, and completely unique at the time. A strong contrast to the flashy, sugary sodas people were used to. What really set Red Bull apart was that it didn't think like a drink company. It thought like a media company. They didn't just sell a product, they created stories, events, and experiences. Red Bull Media House was launched, producing everything from documentaries to full-length films, magazines, and YouTube videos. They also started organizing their own extreme sports events: Red Bull Rampage, Red Bull Air Race, Red Bull Cliff Diving, just to name a few. These events were wild, visually stunning, and designed for the camera, perfect for going viral and keeping Red Bull in the public eye. But Red Bull didn't stop there. They started sponsoring athletes and even bought sports teams, not just any teams, but major ones. In 2005, they bought a Formula One team and renamed it Red Bull Racing. That team went on to become one of the most successful in the sport. They also bought football clubs, including Red Bull Salzburg and the New York Red Bulls. Suddenly, Red Bull was no longer just a drink. It was everywhere: sports, music, adventure, culture. It was a brand that lived in motion. Financially, the results were just as incredible. Red Bull went from selling just 1 million cans in 1987 to over 12 billion cans in 2023. That's more than 38 cans every single second, around the clock, worldwide. And yet, despite this massive success, Red Bull has stayed surprisingly focused. They haven't created dozens of spin-off drinks or watered down the brand. Instead, they've stayed true to their identity: bold, energetic, youthful, and a little rebellious. So, what can we learn from the Red Bull story? First, success isn't always about inventing something new. Sometimes it's about recognizing potential where others don't. Dietrich Mateschitz saw a local Thai drink and turned it into a global phenomenon. Second, great branding goes beyond advertising. Red Bull created a lifestyle around its product. People didn't just buy the drink, they bought into the brand's Bucky Eye